What if I told you that some of the easiest golf access in all of Cape Coral, we're talking 4 minutes to open water, is sitting in one of the most underrated and underpriced neighborhoods in the entire city? In this video, I'm going to take you on a complete map tour of the 8 Lakes and Tarpon Point neighborhoods in Southwest Cape Coral. We're going to cover exact boat travel times to open water from every canal in the neighborhood, bridge heights you need to know before you buy, flood zones, and what Ian taught us about this area, and why the value here is some of the strongest in all of Cape Coral for boater buyers. I'm Barry Cessna, your Cape Coral Golf Access Realtor, and this is the information you won't find anywhere else. Let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome aboard. It's Barry Cessna, your Cape Coral Golf Access Realtor here in Cape Coral, Florida. And today we've got a lot of great information to cover. We're going to do a map tour of the 8 Lakes and Tarpon Point neighborhoods of Southwest Cape Coral. Absolutely beautiful area, a lot of prime real estate there. I think you're really going to like it. We're going to talk about how long it takes to get to open water through the canal system. We're going to talk about bridge heights, and then we're also going to talk about flood zones in that area, so you can get a pretty good idea about what you're looking at if you were to think about purchasing in those areas. So let's go ahead and dive right in. A lot of people say, Barry, where is Cape Coral, Florida? I've worked with clients from Canada, from the northern part of the United States, Northeast, Midwest, Northwest, all over, Europe as well, and even as far south as Colombia and South America. So we've got people coming from all over to Cape Coral. And if you've ever seen Cape Coral on a map, you know exactly what people are seeing. Once you take a look at Cape Coral and all the canals throughout the entire city, you get really excited about being able to dock a boat right in your own backyard. So let's go ahead and dive in. Cape Coral is located just over the Clusatchie River from Fort Myers. We're about 2 hours south of Tampa, about 50 minutes north of Naples, 2.5 miles from Miami, and about 3 hours south of Disneyland, or Disney World there in Orlando, Florida. So a really great central location that you can be in one of the major cities in no time, but you're able to live and relax right here in Cape Coral, Florida. So here's the Cape Coral Peninsula as we see it, and as we zoom in, you can start to see the canals. Now, Cape Coral has golf access canals, meaning you can dock your boat right in your backyard and navigate out to open water from your backyard. In the northwestern part of Cape Coral, the southwestern, and also the southeastern part of Cape Coral. Now, you're not able to get to open water from northeast Cape Coral. So if you are looking for golf access, you definitely don't want to be looking in the northeastern quadrant. Now, as we zoom in a little bit further here, we're going to zoom into the 8 Lakes and Tarpon Point neighborhood. And how are we going to define that? We're going to define that by the Gloriana Canal here on the the western side of the area, the San Carlos Canal over here on the eastern side, and the northern side is going to be cut off by the Cape Coral Parkway. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. What do we have here? Well, let's first zoom on down to Tarpon Point, one of the more exclusive areas. It's a resort area. They have the West in there, so many of my clients that come down, and you may want to do the same, will actually stay at the West, and you get some excellent views of the water there. Great amenities right on the marina. So a really nice area to stay in. That's going to be right here on the property. And then you have the Tarpon Point Marina here, which is a deep water marina. It can accommodate boats up to 75 feet. And they do say on their website that if you make arrangements ahead of time, they can actually accommodate up to 125 feet. You have multiple restaurants right here on the water. One of my favorites is the Naughty Mermaid. It's a great place to go and sit. It's a little beach, or it's a little bar right there. You can just sit on the water, overlook the water, watch live music, and just enjoy some great drinks. They also have another great restaurant there called Gather. It's kind of a gastro pub, lots of craft food and cocktails, a really fun place to be. And then Marker 92, which is the restaurant there at the Westin. They also have a Pinchers there as well, which is one of our local crab shacks, kind of like a Joe's Crab Shack idea, only better. And then out here on the point, you have the High Tide Social Club, which is another great restaurant that you can hang out at and have great views of the marina and water. And oftentimes they have live music there as well. Since we're in this area, we're going to go ahead and show you one of the most exclusive areas, which is this gated community right here. This neighborhood here, Tarpon Estates, has multiple multi-million-dollar homes right here on the water, and they go the whole way up here. Here's the cutoff right here. But if you are looking for something exclusive, you're looking for something tucked back away, really private, but easy access to open water, this might be your neighborhood. You do have to access the Tarpon Point area, which is a gated community, and then you have to go on down and then access your gate here at Tarpon Estates. They also have a handful of villas right here on the property as well that are often for sale, or I shouldn't say often, but you can oftentimes find one in there for sale. You enter through the gate here off of Rose Garden. I'm going to zoom in here. They have a garter shack off of Rose Garden Road. And the good thing about this is if you're coming in during the day, you just wave at the guard and he'll wave you on through if you go to the restaurants or something like that. So don't be intimidated. Go ahead and head on in, check out the marina, check out the restaurants, and just have a good time there. Now, next up, we have the Rose Garden neighborhood, which is going to be this area right here. And why is it called the Rose Garden neighborhood? Because back in the 60s, when they were really trying to promote it, the Rosen brothers were trying to promote Cape Coral, they actually had a rose garden here in this area, and it had over 40,000 rose bushes at that time. Now, obviously, the rose garden is now defunct. They went ahead and developed the area, but it still maintains its name. Just to give you some insight, roses do grow in Cape Coral, but it's not as easy as you might think, or not as easy as you might be able to grow them in the Northeast. We do have amazing climates for plumerias, gardenias, hibiscus, all those tropical flowers that you might like. You can plant those right in your yard, as well as many fruit trees like avocado, mango, lime. Just a great environment for that. Okay, next up we're going to visit Rotary Park. So Rotary Park is going to be this green space right here. And right here's the main area. They do have a walking trail that goes around out into the wetlands here. But they have a really nice nature center here that you can walk through. It's free to go in and walk through and just check out and learn a lot about Cape Coral, learn a lot about the burrowing owls. This is where they have the burrowing owl festival every single year. I believe it's in February. And as we zoom out even further, you have the 8 Lakes area, which is these 8 lakes right here. We're going to dive into that in just a moment as far as getting out of the 8 Lake system into the canal system into the river. But we'll go over that in just a moment. And then you have Cape Coral Parkway here on the northern side. You have a Publix here on the eastern side, and then you have the Publix over here on the western side over at Chiquita and Cape Coral, and then multiple restaurants. A few businesses along Cape Coral Parkway, but there is a lot of residential through here. And then you are very close, or have close access over here to the downtown Cape Coral area in 47th Terrace, which has plenty of restaurants, lots of businesses, some nightlife. Just a really good time if you're looking to get out and relax. This is where most people are going to head. Now, one of the things that I really want to talk about as well is what's different about this neighborhood compared to, say, the Cape Harbor neighborhood over here, or the Yacht Club neighborhood, which is on the other side, this area here. That's where you're going to find the oldest houses built in the 60s and then, of course, developed throughout, but you see a lot of older homes there. Once we got into this area here, a lot of these homes were built out in the 80s and the 90s, and then some in the 2000s as well, of course. And then once you get over to this really southwest Cape Harbor neighborhood, most of the homes there were built in the late 90s, early 2000s. So you do see a difference when you're going through the communities. Now, since Cape Coral is sold individual lots, you still see homes throughout the neighborhoods that are brand new. I mean, there's plenty of brand new homes sitting in this area of the 8 Lakes area. And actually, we've actually started to see homes along the 8 Lakes because the views are so amazing and a very desirable area to be. People are tearing down the older homes and building larger, bigger, beautiful homes there. So that is happening in this section for sure. Now, let's go ahead and talk about distance to open water, because that's extremely important to know. Is how far is it going to take me to get to open water? And in this case, to get on down here to the Caloosahatchee River, and you're going to exit right through Glover Bight here and around Tarpon Point. And then we're also going to talk about how you exit the San Carlos Canal and right into, it's going to be Redfish Cove right here. Also, I will point out while we're right here, Cape Coral, every year at the beginning of December, we have the Cape Coral Boat Parade, which is absolutely fabulous. And it starts here in Bimini Basin, and you probably have well over 100 boats that decorate, put lights all over their boat, and then they have a little boat parade. And it actually starts here in Bimini Basin and navigates right on down here through this canal, and then right on down through here. So if you have a home here on this canal and in the bottom of the San Carlos Canal, you actually get a very nice view of these amazing boats as they pass by every December. So, or it's good to know somebody that has a home on that canal. And then, of course, it does come over here and around some of the Yacht Club canals as well. Okay, so let's get into distance to open water. All right, this is exciting. I really like this neighborhood, the 8 Lakes and Tarpon Point neighborhoods. Distance to open water is going to be actually really feasible, really nice. The value that you get in this neighborhood is really strong for it being easy access to open water, but also having a really nice neighborhood to be in as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to talk about, first up is the South Spreader. Now this is where the South Spreader exits. Right over here you have Rum Runners, and the South Spreader is going to come on down here. So if you're exiting this area here in Tarpon Estates neighborhood, it's right on the water. So it's about 0.4 miles from this location, about 4 minutes just to get out here to the river. Really easy, really navigatable to get out there. As we move on up, we're here at the Cessna Canal and the Blueberry Canal. You're at about 0.8 miles or 8 minutes to the open water. And now these are the neighborhoods that are going to be right off of Chiquita Boulevard, right across the street from Cape Harbor at Rum Runners. Some really nice neighborhoods right here, these peninsulas that stick out. Really nice areas to be in just because they have such easy access. And when you drive down these neighborhoods or these streets, you really see some beautiful homes here. Now, as we go on up the canal system, we're going to be here at the Gloriana Canal, which is this long canal up and down, and Underhill Canal. We're looking at about 1.1 mile and about 11 minutes from this location here to get you on out to open water. You still have some nice neighborhoods here, really nice. However, it just seems that the further south you go, the nicer they get, the larger the homes get. And then as we shoot right on up here, we have the Gloriana and the Vernon Canal, and it's about 1.8 miles or 18 minutes to get to the open water. You'll notice all these canals here that are kind of thinner. These are about 75 to 80 feet across, a little bit thinner than, say, our canals that we looked at over in the Cape Harbor neighborhood. However, there's still plenty of room there. You can typically build your dock about 25% of the width of the canal. So if the canal is 80 feet across, you can build your dock out into the water about 20 feet. So that's good to know. It just really gives you a more intimate feeling. A lot of people love these canals because it feels like you're in a true boater's neighborhood. You have boaters or boats sitting in your canal right there, right outside your window. It's actually a really cool feeling. However, the wider the canal, typically the higher the price for that lot or that home, just based on that. But I really like, you can get some really good deals on these thinner canals, and it really is a cool feeling when you're there. Now let's go ahead and jump over here. So the Apple Canal is right here. It would take you about 2.5 miles or 25 minutes to get to the open water. And with that one, you're going to have to go north to the Vernon Canal and then over to the Gloriana Canal and then on down out to the river. Now here we go. This is the first of the 4 lakes that we're going to look at. We're going to look at the Thunderbird Lake here. So this is all considered the Thunderbird Lake. Just really wide open views. To have a home on here is an absolute premium, and you do pay for that premium. This is where some of the homes are actually being knocked down and newer, bigger homes are being built. Lots here in Cape Coral are typically about a quarter acre, about 0.23 acres. They're called double lots. And then if you get what's called a triple lot, it's 0.34 acres, and those often go at a premium as well. But your standard lot in Cape Coral, which is pretty normal for the majority of Cape Coral, is about 0.23 acres, unless it's on a corner lot, like a pie-shaped lot or something like that. From here, from the Thunderbird Lake, you would go through the lake system and then under the bridge here at Pelican, and then you would navigate on out this way and then down. And you're looking from the lakes, from Thunderbird Lake, 2.8 miles, about 28 minutes. So you're still 30 minutes to get out to open water from just about anywhere in this canal system. So not bad at all. Easy access to get in your boat that's docked in your backyard and then navigate on out to the open water. Let's jump on down here to Britannia Lake. Now this is the Britannia Lake system. This is the 4 lakes down here are called Britannia Lake, and it's 2.2 miles, about 22 minutes to get to open water. And the way you're going to get there is you're going to come on down here, and you're going to go under the bridge at El Dorado and through the Rose Garden neighborhood and come right on around. Now you do have 2 bridges to go under from here, and we're going to get into bridge heights in just a moment so you can understand what type of boat you'd be able to dock there, but we'll get into that in just a moment. And then here in the Citrus Canal, from here you're looking about 1.3 miles or 13 minutes to get on out to the river. And you do have this other bridge right here to go under, and then you're on out. I believe the only one we didn't chat about is in this canal system here, Torrance Canal. So if you're right here, you're south of Southwest 52nd Street, you're going to go out this way. and that's going to be 2 miles, about 20 minutes to get you to the open water. And when I talk about really cool neighborhoods, you can see here, if we zoom in, everybody has the boats. You just look out your window and you've got these really cool boats up and down your canal. It's a really unique and exciting feeling. Now, if you do live here on the Gloriana Canal, this canal here, you're going to see a lot of boat traffic going by every Saturday and Sunday, and then during season, just about every day of the week, you're going to see a steady flow of boats going by, which is a really fun, especially if you love to see boats, different types of boats. If you like to be sociable, you can sit on your dock and say hi. It's a really good feeling as well. Okay, so we covered the part west of Pelican. Now in this neighborhood also, there's going to be east of Pelican. So let's take a look over here, and this is the San Carlos Canal. So if we go the whole way up the San Carlos Canal, we're at 1.2 miles, about 12 minutes to get to the river. And that's just straight on down. Really easy access to get down here to Redfish Cove and the Caloosahatchee River. Now over here, the San Jose Canal, which is this wider canal here, you're looking at about 1.5 miles, about 15 minutes. And this is one of those unique situations where if you live on this side of the street, you're looking at 15 minutes to get down to the river. If you're living on this side of the street, you're looking at probably closer to 30 minutes to get to the river, and a longer trip to navigate to get out of the canal system. All the canals are no wake at idle speed, so you're typically going to be going at about 5 to 7 miles an hour, just depending on the type of boat that you have. If we go on down, we can go to the Pelican Canal, which is right here, and you're looking at about 1.1 miles or 11 minutes to get on down to the open water. And then if we go to here, Bimini and the Plymouth Canal, 0.4 miles, about 5 minutes to traverse and exit from there. And then of course you've got some great homes here that are just sitting right out on the water. Excellent views. You do pay a premium to be here. However, anytime you're directly on the river, it's going to be a lot. Typically goes for close to $1 million, and oftentimes it's an older home that's already been built there. They are purchased, they're torn down, and then a newer, bigger home is built there. There's a home right here that's brand new. It was just built in the last year or two, and it was priced as one of Cape Coral's most expensive homes. It's absolutely incredible. It's even got an elevator in there, but just spectacular views. I believe right now it's priced at right around $4 million or just over $4 million. So if you'd like some information on that, feel free to reach out and we can chat about that. But lots of great opportunities. The better the view you have, the more money you're going to pay. The closer you are to open water, the more money you're going to pay. But we just find out what your budget is, and then we find the proper home for you. But just lots of amazing opportunities. For instance, over here, I sold a home on this canal right here a couple of months ago, and they paid about $850 for a home that was built in the mid-90s. With some updates to it. So you can get some amazing homes here under $1 million. Once you go above the $1 million mark, then you really start to get into some beautiful luxury type properties. All right, so that concludes the distance to open water. Hopefully you found this useful. Next up, we're going to jump into bridge heights. So let's go ahead and chat about that now. All right, let's jump into bridge heights. We're going to talk about the mean high water level, and this is going to be basically where the high tide averages over the last several years to give you an idea of what kind of boats you can actually have behind the bridges. Now, if you have direct access, meaning no bridge, you can dock sailboats, you can dock high center consoles, small cabin cruisers, all kinds of stuff in here. But if you do have a bridge, then you do have to be wary of your height. So your water level, where the boat sits on the water, to its highest point. So first up, we're going to have the bridge here on the Vernon Canal. That's just off the 8 Lakes area, Thunderbird Lake. And you're going to have 9 feet. This one goes under Pelican, and it's going to have a clearance of 9 feet at mean high water. Now, as we go on down, this is the only bridge for all of these folks. So all these folks have direct access right here, which is really nice. Once they get out to the Gloriana Canal, it's complete direct access straight on out. Now, if we go over to Britannia Lake, here you actually have 2 bridges that you need to go under to get out. The first is at the Elsa Canal. It's 9 feet 3 inches. This is right here in the Rose Gardens neighborhood. You're going to go under that, and then you're going to go through the Rose Garden neighborhood, 9 feet 3 inches. It's a really easy to navigate and to run the canal system here. Just beautiful homes all over. And then you're going to get to this bridge at on the Citrus Canal, and it's 8 feet 9 inches. Now, one of the things that you need to keep in mind is you need to know the height of all the bridges, not just the bridge closest to your home, because as we can see, this bridge over here is 9 feet 3 inches. This one over here is 8 feet 9 inches. So the lowest bridge or the lowest clearance is the one that you need to understand and need to base your boat purchase off of. Now, when folks talk to me about buying here, the first thing that we ask, and one of the first things that we talk about, is what type of boat do they have, or what type do they plan to purchase? Because that's extremely important to understand where we look for a home. So if you're not sure, definitely reach out to me and let's chat about that, and let's find the best canal systems for you based on your budget and what you're looking for. So those are the 3 bridges in this area. Now, if you're west of Pelican, or I'm sorry, if you're east of Pelican in one of these neighbors off the San Carlos Canal, you're complete direct access just right out here to the San Carlos Canal and right on down to the river. Easy, easy, easy. Just a really great location to be in, and I highly recommend this area as far as value goes. We're going to jump into flood zones because that is a little bit of a concern for this area, and how Ian impacted this area. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But really, as far as the overall location, the value for the properties that you can get here, it's really a great opportunity here in the 8 Lakes and Tarpon Point neighborhood. So that is are the bridges in this area. So let's now jump into flood zones and talk about what that looks like for this area. All right, let's talk about flood zones. Now in Cape Coral, you really have 3 main flood zones, or how they're categorized by FEMA. The first is AE, which that means saying that there's a potential for a flood once every 100 years. Or a substantial flood one time. It's not really 1%, it's just once every 100 years there's a high potential for a flood in that area. And then you have X500, which means 1 in 500 years, and then you have X, which is a very little chance of actually having a flood. So let's zoom into Cape Coral here. This is the peninsula, and as you can see right here, the pinkish color, the reddish pink color, that's going to be zone AE. The yellow is X500, and then the no color here at all is going to be X. So if you say, Barry, I absolutely don't want to be in a flood zone, that would mean you don't want to be in AE, because AE is the one that carries the highest risk, and it also is the one where your lender will actually require you to have flood insurance. Typically X and X500, the lender does not require you to have flood insurance. However, with that being said, it's still a good idea to carry flood insurance even if you are in X or X500, and the cost is extremely minimal. So you can discuss that with your insurance guy, and I've got some great ones that I recommend my clients. Now, as we zoom in, you say, Barry, if I'm on a Gulf Access canal, am I automatically going to be in AE, zone AE? And I will say absolutely not. Now, some of the best canals, and typically the best canals, are going to be in zone AE, and the highest priced areas are going to be in AE because those are the most desirable. However, there is a stretch along Del Prado over here that you'll see yellow, these ones right here, and we'll get into those in a couple of weeks because we're going to explore this area in distance to open water, bridge heights. But as you can see, they're all yellow, meaning they're not requiring flood insurance, and they still have fairly easy access to the open water, say 15-20 minutes. However, they are some older neighborhoods, and they're typically not going to be landscaped as nicely as, say, Southwest Cape or maybe across Del Prado in the Palaco Grand neighborhood, where you see some really high dollar properties. You're just not going to see that back here because they are indirect canals, not direct canals in that area. But anyways, today we're talking about 8 Lakes, Tarpon Point neighborhood. So let's dive into that. And as you can see, here's Cape Coral Parkway. So that's our north line here. And then we have the Gloriana Canal and the San Carlos Canal, and then on down here to Tarpon Point. As you can see, everything in this area is going to be pink. The only areas that are X500 are going to be the yellow areas. And those are typically around bridges. So if your home is located next to a bridge, oftentimes it's built up higher because the bridge and the road was built up higher by the city when it happened, and then often the lots surrounding that are built up higher as well. The way that Cape Coral was built out is they actually dredged the canals and took the land and put it up on top, creating the lots. Now, typically, when you do build a house here, you do have to have more fill, and building codes have changed substantially since Cape Coral was first developed. It started back in 1957, and then it was really developed out in the 60s and 70s. A lot of those older homes sit at much lower elevations. If you were to build a newer home, the city would require you to build it much higher than where it is now, the ones are now. So this is AE, and if you look at AE, it says elevation 8 feet right here. 8 feet means that if any new construction that goes in has to be built at a minimum base level of 9 feet. So the home would have to sit at least 9 feet, like the lowest floor in the home would have to sit at least 9 feet. Now, as you can see, and like we've talked about, this is some amazing real estate. Easy access to open water, beautiful neighborhoods. However, there are some older homes in these neighborhoods. And I remember going through when Ian came through, and there were several homes in this neighborhood that were actually flooded. So depending on your risk tolerance, you may or may not want to live in a neighborhood like this. If you say, Barry, I absolutely don't want to live in a neighborhood like this. I don't want that risk. And knowing that some homes in that area did flood during Ian, then maybe you want to be a little bit further north in the Pelican neighborhood. You still have fairly easy access. However, it's going to be longer to get to open water. Also, you may get a better value because anytime you're further from the river, typically prices come down. But let's focus on this area here. One of the things I wanted to talk about today is going to be the 50-50 rule. Now, what that means, FEMA has set the 50-50 rule, and what that means that if a home is damaged, let's say the home is worth $300,000, and if it's going to cost $150,000 or more to bring that house back to its former state if it was damaged, then the home must be demolished or other repairs need to be made in order to bring that home higher elevation and multiple things that could cost a substantial amount of money. So typically, if a home has more than 50% of the appraised value damaged, it's going to cost that much. So if you have a $300,000 house, it's going to cost $150,000 to fix it, then they're typically going to get torn down and basically just sold at land value. The insurance company will pay the owners, and then that's how that works. Now, what happened after Ian, we had multiple homes that were flooded in this area and around the yacht club area. And when you're looking at photos on Redfin or Zillow or homes that I'm sending you, if you're on a custom list from me personally, then if you see homes that are older, say they're built in the 60s, the 70s, but the finishes look like they were just done, they're modern, they have quartz countertops, beautiful tile floors, modern floors. Maybe it's like the lighter colors. I see a lot of the lighter colors in these homes, some of the wood plank tile. But if you see everything that looks brand new, looks pretty spectacular, there's a good chance that that home actually flooded back in Ian. So I wouldn't say stay away from a home like that because you can get some great opportunities close to water and maybe it's not in your budget to afford one of the $1 million plus homes, but you're able to come in and buy one of these homes for $800,000, $700,000, $900,000 in that range and get great location, direct canal. But the things that we want to check is permits because we want to make sure that the permits were pulled correctly when they did these. Some investors came in, they just started knocking out, pulling everything out and redid everything without permits. And that can lead to a potential problem down the road. It can lead to you having trouble refinancing the home. It can lead to you having problems with insurance. So it's extremely important to understand when you see these homes that are older, but everything looks brand new inside, especially floors, cabinets, things like that, then understand that those homes were probably flooded and we want to make sure that they were put back together correctly. That's the first step. And then the second step, you have to assess how comfortable you are living in an area that was already flooded or a home that was already flooded. What are the chances of that happening again? Slim, extremely, but it did happen once in the last 60 years since Cape Coral's been a city, and it could happen again, but highly unlikely, but nobody can tell the future. So depending on you, what your feeling is on that, that's my advice. Definitely can find some great homes, easy access to open water. I've shown a handful of homes down in this area here. Just beautiful homes, redone, ready to go. They're a little bit on the smaller side because they were typically built back in the 60s or the 70s, but they are great and just such easy access to open water. Now, why do homes flood in this area and not other areas of the city? And you're still with me, so I'm going to give you some great information here. So I'm glad that you stuck around to watch this part of the video. Go ahead and hit that like button if you like this information. It's really giving you some insight into the city of Cape Coral. But what I wanted to talk to you next about is the mangroves. And in Cape Coral, we have mangroves up and down the western side of the city. This area here actually protects you substantially if you're in the southwest neighborhoods. And then if we shoot up here to the northwest part, Burnt Store Road area, as you can see, you have the mangroves here as well. If you look on any map, you'll see the trees there, and it's all water, but it's very shallow water, and the mangroves protect these parts of Cape Coral. Well, when you come over to here, you can see we don't have any mangroves here. Very little. This is Rotary Park. Not a lot of not a lot of protection here. And what happened during Ian, And this is why Cape Coral, and I don't know if you saw photos of Fort Myers Beach, but Fort Myers Beach had some storm surge of 12 to 15 feet. And Fort Myers Beach is this island right down here. Beautiful now, and they've redone everything there. It's absolutely incredible. And it's about a 25-minute drive from downtown Cape Coral. If you're further back in Cape Coral, then it will take you a little longer to get there. But Fort Myers Beach is just an absolutely beautiful beach, and it's great to have close to us. But we had, Ian was what they call a dirty hurricane. And hurricanes always go counterclockwise. They swirl like this. And if you were on the right side of the hurricane, that's called the dirty side of the hurricane. And it swirls. And the problem was it was just swirling here for hours and hours as it came on shore. And it actually came on shore, and just north of Cape Coral is where it came in at. But anywhere on the left side of it up here, they didn't really see much storm surge at all. However, if you were on this side of it, that wind and that swirl kept pushing water right up the river, right up the river, right up the river. And so the water just kept getting pushed up for hours and hours. And that's where that storm surge came in. And that's why there were several homes in this neighborhood here, as well as the yacht club neighborhood, that saw water enter the homes, which then the floors need to be replaced. The walls, what they do is they cut about 4 feet of the wall up, because that's the width of a piece of drywall, and they replace everything below that. So cabinets, walls, electrical, flooring, all that needs to be replaced, because that salt water will cause damage really quick. But with that being said, this whole area here is absolutely incredible to live there, and it still sells at a premium because it's still extremely desirable. You just have to know your risk tolerance and what you're willing to do, or what you're willing to put up with. And insurance rates can be a bit higher in these areas as well. So once we are under contract, we go talk with an insurance company and we do check insurance rates. But again, I've got a pretty good knowledge of the area, so I know which areas are going to be higher insurance compared to other areas, and we can explore that together. And that leads me to talk about the video strategy call that I do, because I love to educate folks on Cape Coral. I love selling Cape Coral. I love living in Cape Coral. I love being on a canal. So I highly recommend, there's a link in the description below or right there on the screen. You can take a picture of the QR code, and we can talk about what it looks like for you to be able to purchase a home here in Cape Coral. We can talk about the neighborhoods. We can talk about flood zones. We can talk about your budget and what it is that you can actually purchase here in Cape Coral. Right now, homes are very affordable compared to other areas of the state of Florida. And just to be able to dock your boat right in your backyard is absolutely impressive. So go ahead and click that link. Let's start that conversation. Whether you're a few months away, a few years away, it's always great to start the conversation with me, and we can start talking about what it is that you're looking for, and I can help educate you. And you may discover that Cape Coral is not for you, because it's definitely not for everyone. But if you're coming down from Chicago, New York City, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Minneapolis, even as far as Seattle, a lot of folks have boats that they cannot use all year there in the Midwest or the Northeast. So come October, the boat goes into storage and it sits there for several months. Whereas in Cape Coral, you can use that boat 365 days a year. That's docked right in your backyard, which is another huge benefit. You don't have to go to the marina in order to get to your boat. So hopefully that was some great information. I think that we really covered a lot. Hope you have a great day, and make sure to book that call with me, and let's chat about what your future looks like here in Cape Coral.